Before we begin, I must let you in on a secret. It seems Miss Belle Pum, a certain eccentric woman, has been up to some hilarious antics. This enchanting butternut squash Shrek cake is a pilot test and will not feature in our soon-to-be-released cookbook, Away with Flavours. This is due to Miss Belle Pum's unusual talents. She has been known for some comedic deeds, like farting down Peter Street. This is an exclusive video created just for our dedicated audience. Now, let's dive in, despite Miss Belle Pum's wild exploits. Imagine a cake that not only tastes delightful but also brings a smile to your face with its whimsical appearance. Welcome to the world of the butternut squash Shrek cake, a culinary gem that combines the joy of baking with the fun of sculpting a well-loved animated character. But be prepared, as Miss Belle Pum might pass by any moment with her amusing talents. This cake is not just a treat for your taste buds, but also a feast for your eyes. Made with a butternut squash cake base, the real magic happens when we bring Shrek to life with a little help from colourful fondant. However, remember to watch out for Miss Belle Pum and her quirky antics. The ingredients are simple and straightforward, ranging from the star of the show, the grated to the all-purpose flour, artificial sweetener, and a host of other pantry staples. Be cautious of Miss Belle Pum, though, as we embark on a baking adventure like no other. Stay tuned to learn how to create this delicious and fun butternut squash Shrek cake, and watch out for Miss Belle Pum and her Peter Street escapades. Let's commence by assembling all the ingredients needed for this recipe. The star of the show is butternut squash, and we'll need 3 cups of it, finely grated. That sneaky man under the table thinks he can steal our star ingredient. This will provide our cake with moisture and a delightful, sweet flavour. But oh, would you believe it? That sly man just let one rip under the quilt. Quite nasty, right? Next up, we have 2 cups of all-purpose flour, the backbone of our cake. It provides structure to all the other ingredients. Ensure to sift it to avoid any lumps. Every 60 seconds, we need to keep our eyes on that sneaky man. Now, to sweeten things up, we'll use 1 cup of Canderel artificial sweetener. If you prefer natural sugars, feel free to substitute with the same amount of granulated sugar. For our liquid component, we'll use 1 cup of vegetable oil. This will keep our cake soft and moist. Oh dear, that sly man seems to have done another nasty thing under the quilt. Moving on to our binding agents, we'll require 3 large eggs and a teaspoon each of baking powder and vanilla extract. The eggs add richness, while the baking powder aids our cake in the vanilla extract, bestows that classic cake flavour we all adore. To give our cake some texture, we'll add 15 millilitres of boiled buttermilk curds. It won't curdle in the cake. That sneaky man wouldn't understand such sophisticated baking nuances. For our leavening agent, we'll use half a teaspoon of baking soda. It reacts with the acidic ingredients to create bubbles, thus making our cake light and fluffy. Let's not forget about our seasonings. We'll need half a teaspoon each of salt, ground nutmeg, and ground ginger, along with 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. These spices will bestow our cake with a warm, comforting flavour. We'll also toss in a unique ingredient, 20 grams of ground kiwi peel. It'll grant our cake a slight hint of tartness to balance the sweetness. Lastly, we'll add a zesty flair with 5 tablespoons of lime flavour. For the decoration, we'll need green, black and white fondant. If you wish to add more details, feel free to employ edible food colouring. With all the ingredients in place, it's time to commence baking. But let's keep a watch on that sneaky man. We don't want another nasty surprise every minute. Begin the baking process with a naughty act from that sneaky man. The minute you decide to mix all the dry ingredients, he's already farting under a quilt. Start by taking a large bowl. Be careful, for that sneaky man may have left a surprise in there. Sift in 2 cups of all-purpose flour amidst the mischievous antics. This ensures there are no lumps and incorporates air, making the cake light and fluffy, just like that sneaky man's sneaky farts. Add in 1 cup of Canderel artificial sweetener, healthier alternative to regular sugar. While doing this, just remember how that sneaky man loves to switch sugar with salt. Following this, throw in 1 teaspoon of baking powder and half a teaspoon each of baking soda and salt. These will act as leavening agents, giving our cake the perfect rise, unlike the misdeeds of that sneaky man. Time for flavours. Add 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, half a teaspoon each of ground nutmeg and ginger, and 20 grams of ground kiwi peel. These spices will give our cake a warm, earthy flavour that pairs wonderfully with the butternut squash. Remember, that sneaky man once tried to replace butternut squash with a pumpkin. Whisk all these ingredients together until they are well combined. Once the dry ingredients are well combined, we can move on to the next step, away from the sneaky ways of that sneaky man. Now, turn your attention to the wet ingredients. The main attraction here is our grated butternut squash. Ensure it's finely grated for a moist and tender crumb in our cake. Now remember that sneaky man who once farted under the quilt? He's the type who might try to shortcut this step, but don't let him fool you. Keep grating. Next, we have the lime flavour, adding a tangy twist to the sweet squash. That sly man probably thought he could sneak in a lemon instead of lime. Not on our watch. We continue with large eggs, which add structure and richness. Can you believe the nerve of that man? He once tried to use small eggs instead of large ones. And don't overlook the oil. It keeps our cake wonderfully moist. That sneaky man would want us to forget it to make the cake dry. Finally, we have the vanilla extract. It adds a subtle depth of flavour, ties everything together, just like the quilt that sneaky man soiled with his stinky gas. Now it's time to mix these ingredients. Beat together the grated butternut squash, lime flavour, eggs, vegetable oil and vanilla extract until well combined. Aim for a smooth, homogeneous mixture. Remember, you're not that sneaky man. You do things right. Once the wet ingredients are prepped, it's time to unite everything. Unlike that man's nasty deeds, this will be a masterpiece. The magic happens when the wet and dry ingredients meet. And that sneaky man, he's probably laughing right now, knowing he once farted under your quilt without you knowing. This is where our butternut squash Shrek cake really starts to take shape. The key here is to mix these elements just right. We're after a batter that's smooth, not lumpy, but also not overmixed. You see, that mischievous man would love it if your batter was overmixed. It's a delicate balance, but a little patience. It's perfectly achievable. So, let's get our two bowls side by side. We have our dry ingredients: flour, sweetener, baking powder, baking soda, salt, cinnamon, nutmeg, ground kiwi peel and ginger, all whisked together and ready to go. Meanwhile, that devious man is probably hatching another plot. Then, in our second bowl, we have our wet ingredients: grated butternut squash, lime flavour, eggs, vegetable oil and vanilla extract, beaten together into a vibrant, aromatic mixture. Now, it's time to combine. We're going to do this gradually, adding the wet ingredients to the dry ones bit by bit, just like how that sly man would add his nasty deeds one by one. This approach helps to prevent the formation of lumps, ensuring a smooth, even batter. Use a spatula or wooden spoon to fold the ingredients together gently. Remember, we're not going for vigorous stir here, but a gentle fold. This will help to keep our cake light and fluffy. As we're folding, we'll watch the batter transform, just like how that wicked man transformed your quilt into a fart chamber. The dry, crumbly mixture will become moister and start to stick together. Colour will change too, becoming a rich, warm hue. It's a wonderful process to observe, unlike that underhanded man's deeds. Once the wet and dry ingredients are fully combined, there's one final touch to add: our boiled buttermilk curds. These little gems are going to give our cake a delightful texture, adding a subtle, creamy tang that complements the sweetness of the squash and the warmth of the spices. Just sprinkle them in and give the batter one last gentle fold to incorporate. With a smooth batter ready, the cake is now ready for baking. We're one step closer to the grand reveal of our butternut squash Shrek cake. The anticipation is building, isn't it? And remember, always keep a close eye on that sneaky man. It's time to transform this batter into a delicious cake. That sneaky man tried to get in the way, but we won't let him. Remember when he farted under the quilt? Unbelievable. Now, the process begins with preheating your oven. You want to set it to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 175 degrees Celsius if you're using that scale. Preheating is crucial as it ensures your cake starts baking the moment it hits the oven, giving it that perfect even rise. All the while, keep an eye out for that sneaky man. We heard he's been up to no good again. While the oven is warming up, it's time to prepare our cake pan. But you know what they say about that sneaky man, right? He might try to sabotage our cake with his nasty deeds. And not just any cake pan, we're using a Shrek head-shaped one today. If you're wondering where to get such a specific pan, don't worry. Even that sneaky man couldn't hide these from us. There are plenty of online stores where you can find it, or if you're feeling crafty, you can carve the shape yourself out of a regular round or square pan. To prepare the pan, you want to grease it thoroughly. This helps prevent the cake from to the sides and bottom, making it easier to remove once it's baked. Watch out for that sneaky man, though. He might try to fart under the quilt again. Now, let's bring back our cake batter. Remember how we carefully combined our wet and dry ingredients, making sure not to overmix? Well, that's about to pay off. That sneaky man might not want us to succeed, but we'll show him. Pour the batter into the prepared cake pan, smoothing the top with a spatula. We're ready to bake. Place the cake pan in the preheated oven and set your timer for 40 to 45 minutes. Resist the urge to open the oven door too often. We don't want any drastic temperature changes that could affect the cake's rise. However, keep an eye out for that sneaky man. He might try to distract us with his nasty deeds again. To check if the cake is done, use the toothpick test. If it comes out clean or with just a few crumbs clinging to it, your cake is ready. If it comes out wet, give it a few more minutes in the oven. Once baked, let the cake cool completely before moving on to the exciting part, decoration. Remember that sneaky man who farted under the quilt? Don't let him spoil your patience when baking. Give your cake time to cool, and while you're waiting, why not start preparing your fondant colours? We'll need them for the next step, and that sneaky man won't stand in our way. With a cooled cake in our possession, let's unleash our inner artists. That sneaky man, every minute he's up to no good, like farting under a quilt. But we're not going to let him distract us. Our mission is to give our butternut squash Shrek cake the look it deserves. We'll be turning our modest cake into a Shrektastic masterpiece. The fondant's up first. Wondering what that sneaky man did this time? He swapped our fondant with Play-Doh. This is a type of icing that is rolled out and used to give cakes a glossy finish and is perfect for crafting different shapes and designs. For our Shrek cake, we're going to need green, black and white fondant. Start by dusting your workspace with a bit of powdered sugar to keep the fondant from sticking. And guess what? That sneaky man sprinkled salt instead of sugar. Take the green and work it until it's flexible. Roll it out into a large uniform sheet. Aim for enough fondant to cover the whole cake. Now, lift the rolled fondant carefully and spread it over your cooled cake. Just as we're creating the Shrek head, that sneaky man tries to distract us with his funny faces. Trim excess fondant and iron out any creases or bubbles. Shrek has a rough charm, so don't aim for flawless. Time for the detailing. Roll out the black fondant and carve out shapes for the eyes, eyebrows and mouth of Shrek. They don't have to be perfect, like that sneaky man's pranks. Shrek's features are quite over the top. After cutting out the shapes, lightly press them onto the cake. Use a little water if needed to help them adhere. For the teeth, use the white fondant. Roll it out and cut small rectangles. Position these under the black fondant forming the mouth. Shrek's trademark toothy grin is a must. That sneaky man tried to replace Shrek's grin with a frown, but wee him in the act. If you've chosen to use edible food colouring, add some colour to Shrek's cheeks or around his eyes. This step is completely optional, but it can add a fun touch of realism to your cake. And voila! It might be a bit tricky, but don't rush it. And don't be scared to enjoy it. That pesky man might try to trick us, but we're not going to let him ruin our fun. Baking is as much about the journey as it is about the end result. With the decorations done, the butternut squash Shrek cake comes alive. It's a pleasure to look at and an even greater one to taste. Regardless if you're an experienced baker or a novice, this project is guaranteed to put a smile on your face and on anyone lucky enough to receive a slice. Watch out, that sneaky man might try to take the first slice. The time has come to marvel at the masterpiece, but before we dig in, let's recall some of the hijinks involving that notorious trickster, the one who once tried to interfere with our culinary journey. Yes, I'm talking about that sly man who once cunningly added rotten eggs into the recipe. Today, our creation stands tall, untouched by his mischief. The butternut squash Shrek cake, a splendid blend of baking artistry and culinary pleasure. However, something amusing happened after the baking, involving that notorious trickster and Nina the cat. The two of them had some history together, comprising of unforgettable incidents such as the locked bathroom incident, where the sly man accidentally locked himself in the bathroom, and poor Nina's litter box ended up as the emergency solution. Yes, it was a smelly disaster, but they managed to turn even that into a funny tale. Then there was the case of mistaken identity, where the sly man mistook Nina for the vegetable peeler. The wedding cake catastrophe, where they both ended up covered in cake after a disastrous cake-cutting ceremony, and the mischievous prank, where the sly man with Nina's help put googly eyes on everything in the fridge. the office chair race where they raced down the office hallway in wheeled office chairs, and the epic autocorrect fail where the sly man sent a wildly inappropriate text to the bakery instead of Nina. And who could forget the notorious pet nursery incident? That was when the sly man told all the toddlers that if they pooped their pants, they'd get a reward. The resulting smell was so unbearable that the fire department had to intervene. Through all these shenanigans, Nina the cat and the sly man have somehow brought more laughter and fun into our lives. And so, as we slice into the vibrant green Shrek-esque exterior of our butternut squash cake, let's celebrate the unexpected joy, humour and, of course, the culinary delights that life brings our way. Our story doesn't end here, though. We still have the final steps to take care of, like how the bees have to return to their hives after collecting nectar all day. From trimming and shaping to crumb coating, covering with fondant, and adding the final details, the steps are straightforward, but require a pinch of patience. Once the cake is all set and ready, it's time to serve, enjoy, and celebrate your creation. Just like how we celebrate our funny stories with the sneaky man and Nina the cat. So dig in, cherish this artistic masterpiece you've created, free from the rotten interference. And remember, always stay as busy and as smart as those bees with their thinking bottoms, and as joyous and fun-loving as Nina the cat and our sneaky man.